Nah, 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 wait till I get my Omi right. Yo, how's it going, my VV OGs, my Omi homies, and everybody else on YouTube? It's your bromy, the Gale, back at it again with another gem-filled question and answer VV video. So we recently just had another Ask Me Anything video, and if you missed it, then this video is for you. And if you happen to catch it, this video is also for you because it doesn't hurt to re-listen to these awesome discussions. This time, Dan, the CEO or COO, basically one of the creators of Ecomi, was present to answer questions. And it's always great to hear from the leaders of Ecomi. These are the type of videos where I learn, where I get extra confidence in my investment. This is how I know that I don't have enough OMI, or if I do have enough OMI, but you never have enough OMI, right? So this is where I learn, like, oh, I need to get some more OMI, because you hear stuff about the NFL and the VeVeVerse and buying land and stuff like that. Like, this is where I get all of my extra info that I'm able to, seem like a guru or a wizard. This is where I get my info from videos like this. So that's what this video is going to be. I shortened it down from 2 hours to an hour of back-to-back of the best questions. So feel free to watch this at normal speed, or if you're like me, I like to watch my videos at 1.x speed or greater. You can find that in the YouTube menu. It might make for a quicker watch and a smoother watch, but you can do what you want with that. So without further ado, let's just breeze into it.
One last question. Will there be a drop for the last week of August?
Yes, there will be, I can tell you before August, there will be 2 more collectible drops and there will be more comic drops.
This month just gets bigger and bigger. I hope you've managed to get some sleep at some point there. It's wild.
Go on, happy when we roll into September.
Yeah, that's it. They just stack on. Comic books, congratulations, Dan and Trevor and everybody involved, have been a big success. I think we'll cover off a fair few of the FAQs from that as well. Dan, any feedback on that? How's it been going on our end?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously the uptake has been far greater than we anticipated. I mean, I'd probably say that every drop, I should get used to thinking that drops are going to always sell out. But yeah, no, overall, very, very pleased with how it went. Obviously, I was a bit nervous on my side, rolling out a feature like that, a lot of eyeballs on it, obviously expectations from licensors. But yeah, overall, really pleased with how it's turned out. And I think just one thing to iterate, which I probably should have made a little bit clearer in our earlier communications, is that this really is just phase 1 of comics. So I'm sure everything that's going to be asked today is already on the development list, and hopefully will be rolled out. And I think very, very soon, as we continue to expand and really just improve the whole comic side of the app, to in a similar way that we have done with comics. But yeah, I really hope that everyone is enjoying actually reading these comics. I mean, for me, I've never read Marvel Comics #1 or Journey into Mystery, so it's great to be able to get our hands on these and actually read them.
One other question we get, and you can probably provide better insight on this, really the differentiation between comic books as collectibles and say the premium models that we also provide as collectibles. Obviously collecting comics right now, you can't really complete the set of them, is that right? I mean, obviously you can collect all the covers, but it doesn't quite count as a collectible set at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, really, the comic books are a completely different product. Really, I mean, they are there to be to mimic what happens in the real world of comic reading. And this is the same way with the rarity covers. There's always only a very, very small amount of rarity covers. So yeah, we aren't. I was talking with David about it the other day. We aren't planning on doing sets for that for a couple of reasons. Number one, as you guys probably know, the rarities for comics are significantly lower. So that would mean that there's only going to be a small percentage of the audience who would ever be able to complete a set. And really, comics are there to be collected and read. That's the main objective behind, releasing this product. So there is definitely some differentiation between the two products. But again, as I say, this is phase one, and I'm sure it's going to evolve into something that's very, very collectible beyond even just owning. If you're lucky enough, I wasn't 100% able to get one of these ultra rares or secret rares.
Yeah, I'm running the common game over here as well. But just on that, it's all completely randomized now, isn't it? Like the edition numbers and the potential of getting a rarer cover. Like I think people were confused that maybe the first 3,000. Yeah, that's correct.
No, that's right. So this is how it works in the world of comics. So for example, if I own a comic store, I will get a whole bunch of whatever it is, 100 comics delivered to me in a sealed box, and then within that box there's going to be X number of cover variants, assuming that comic is released with a cover variant. So we really wanted to stay true to what is already out there, already modeled, and what people already sort of understand. And that is again one of the differentiations between comics and digital collectibles within Veve.
Yeah, perfect. I think that'll help people. I know, me personally, and quite a lot of people in the community, the whole the traditional collecting side of things is pretty new to me and to a lot of people. So understanding these nuances is just a great bit of insight there. And just a couple other things to cover off on that front. People have obviously asked about dropping their comics in their showrooms or reading them in AR. Now, I think that's pretty close as well.
Yes, it is. I wasn't 100% happy with the AR reader, so I just wanted to hold that back a little bit. But yeah, I can say that the reading experience is really cool. I mean, it's almost like you're actually reading the comic like it's there. And in fact, I prefer to read them in AR mode than in the e-reader in the app. So super excited about getting that one out. Hoping it's going to make it into the next release. So we're just got to do some final testing on some of the AR, put some instruction screens in. But if it's not in the next one, it will 100% be in the follow-up one from that. I'm super excited to get that out. And on the showrooms, yes, we will eventually add comics into the showroom. I'm not anticipating that's going to be too long. But of course, who doesn't want a shelf in their showroom with all of their epic comics on it? I mean, I 100% want that as well. So definitely coming.
Just on the showrooms, how is showroom version 2 progressing?
Showroom version 2 is also very close to fruition as well. Obviously now, the past few months, well, actually, to be honest with everyone, the past 8 months have been pretty hectic and crazy, and really getting the blind boxes out and getting the entire comic feature out was sort of the last big project that we had in that last sort of sprint that we were doing. Well, I shouldn't say sprint, I should say epic. Moving forward now, we can start to release the showroom and all those kind of features that are all done in the back end. It was just really a decision that we don't want to be releasing too many new features when there's a big feature like comic rolling out. It can sometimes amplify the things that can go wrong. So now that's out, we get phase 2, or at least these next few updates of comics out. The showroom is very close behind that. And we've got a couple of new features coming out in the showroom as well. One is undo redo, because it's as you guys know, using it on mobile can be a little bit finicky. So we've built in undo redos just to make it a little bit easier to set things up. And then I believe the empty showrooms or the empty space, for example, is coming along well. Again, a couple of little things that I want to tweak on that before pushing that out. So hoping what's the date today before I promise this? Yeah, but probably before early September, I'm hoping to have Showroom version 2 coming out. And just one quick note on that. I know we've touched on this before, but just for our new listeners, if you do have an existing Showroom number 1, that showroom will no longer be available. If you create a new one, you'll always get version 2 of the showroom. But if you have an existing version 1, you will be able to keep that. It's almost like a little badge for the OGs. And also, people have spent hundreds, if not thousands, of hours in there combined. So we don't want to take that away from anyone.
Yeah, I love the retro showroom, and you're right. Some people have spent incredible amounts of time creating those things. Just some people may not be aware of it or might have missed it. The empty showroom you just mentioned, or the blank showroom. Do you want to just explain that to people?
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole idea of this empty space, effectively think of it as the showroom, but it's got no walls, no anything. And the idea here is that you're able to start building up. Even if it's like a diorama, say for example, you manage to collect all of the mighties, and then you want to see only those mighties in AR. You can then set up this empty space, add as many collectibles as you want, and eventually you'll be able to add all the accessories in there as well. And then when you project that into AR, there's not going to be any of the showroom walls or anything like that. I know what a lot of people do now is they have to drag the collectibles out the front of the showroom in order to get multiple collectibles in the AR space. So that's the whole kind of concept behind the empty showroom or the empty space.
Do we have the ability to take AR photos with the selfie camera yet, or is that a limitation on the phones?
What that requires is a feature called occlusion, and occlusion is kind of similar to like how LiDAR might work, for example. And what it's able to do is, for example, if I am taking a selfie, it can detect my body, or it can detect a human body, and then it can place the AR elements behind that. So very similar with LiDAR. You could scan the room, and it might detect say if you're in your living room, it might pick up your couch or your TV, and then when you drop one of our 3D collectibles into that AR space, they will be sitting behind the items. So that's actually a feature that's been already developed internally. We just need to get it, like I say, now that we're through all of these, big sort of updates and releases, we can now start to push that through our QA pipeline. So that's another feature I'm really quite excited about is building in this occlusion, so we are able to, place objects behind. You could have your DeLorean in a whole line of cars like sitting in the middle somewhere there. Now this is tech that actually comes from Apple and Google with their AR tools, so nothing that we're developing proprietary. So it's not 100%, but still better than not having anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anything that engages people and enables you to share photos like that is going to be a good thing for the platform anyway. So that's exciting. And I think we, like you just alluded to, I think we'll whip through a lot of those developments now that these big updates have rolled out. So it's good to be on that side of it. How is Immutable progressing? Because I know people will ask that.
Yep, so Immutable is going very well. Most of the development on our side is pretty much done. All of the contracts have been deployed to testnet, and really now we're going through a heavy testing phase. I think I mentioned in the last AMA, like obviously this is quite a big migration for the company, and there's going to be token swaps involved. So we just want to make sure before we start to roll that out, that it goes through some very heavy testing. And we're working very closely with the guys over at Immutable to get that process all underway. Now, in terms of timeline, because I'm sure that's the top of everyone's mind, and you know how I feel about timelines, but I do expect the testing to take really another solid 2 to 4 weeks. And my aim, as long as touch wood, nothing goes wrong, that we can really start to have everything rolled out mid to late September, and that would mean getting the token swap site out. And I think there's one thing to remember, that this is quite a big migration for us. There's a lot of pieces in the pie. So yeah, please just bear with us as we work through the fairly complex development of it.
Yeah, I think most people understand that, right? I mean, we're obviously dealing with people's assets and quite a lot of value, and from a technical standpoint, it's involved. So, obviously, we all want it to happen as quick as possible, but it takes when it's ready, it's ready. It's one of those things. And of course, the other question I'm sure we will get is on the buybacks. Now, I keep people updated on this, that it's with David Yu at the moment, and I'm just waiting on him to approve some things. Dan, I don't know if you have any other updates we can provide on that.
That's the same update from my side. Dave's working through that at the moment, and we hope to have some news on that pretty soon.
The question is, will the comics count towards your collectible count, or will it be a kind of separate comic count when you have a full set of comics? That's the first question. I'll just let you answer that.
Thanks, Kate. So the question was, so any collectible you have in the platform is from our side regarded as the same. So if you own 5 digital collectibles and 5 digital comics, then you own 10 collectibles. One thing I just wanted to be clear on there, Kay, was that right now we haven't got comics set up as sets for the time being, for the reasons that I alluded to earlier. The fact that there's just so low of the rare numbers, and really comics are there to be read. They are still 100% collectibles. There's just obviously they're just a slightly different product. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Wait, so under the profile, it's gonna show up as we have our collectibles are gonna show up in the profile, right?
Yes, it will. Like I say, we've still got a few updates coming in phase 2 where we need to integrate the comics a little bit more, but they will show up as like the example I just said.
Do comics count towards the master collector in any capacity, or we'll release more on that later?
Well, yeah. I mean, like I say, it's a collectible that you own, so it will have some bearing on what you do. And in fact, really any product or anything that we bring onto the platform like that is something you own, will contribute.
So we've been hearing a lot, and I guess reading a lot about people's different, I guess, beliefs of what the VeVeVerse is going to be. But a lot of, I guess, new things have been coming up. Some of them are like, you may be able to build, I guess, your own kind of like showroom or mini game or something like that. And then some say that it's going to be more of like you are renting out, if you create like a masterpiece showroom and then you can rent it out, and that might be in the VeVeVerse. Do we have anything confirmed by the team of like what direction y'all are going with the VeVeVerse yet, or is it all still right now kind of up in the air on what direction we're going?
So yeah, there is a lot of speculation out there about features, and I will say now that it is going to be impossible for us to include, at least early on, everyone's ideas. But some of the points you touched on there, yes, absolutely will be part of the VeVeVerse. Now that comics has come to an end, I can really start focusing again on moving ahead with the scope that we've got. So what I as I've mentioned last time, I don't want to discuss it too much now, but obviously to give you guys a bit of an idea of how the VeVeVerse is going to be modeled. And just keep in mind that this is going to be a platform that's going to start off with X number of features, and then it's going to grow and develop and evolve like all of these metaverses should do. So to start off with, we're going to be, it's all going to be based around VeVe City, which is an area where effectively you can do what you do in the app, but in a much more sort of 3D metaverse style world. Within the metaverse as well, everyone will obviously have their own showroom. In this case, it's not really going to be a showroom. It'll more become your sort of house in the metaverse. And there will be things like land and all that you can purchase in the metaverse as well. So I am also very excited about getting that feature underway again, and getting some more information out to you. I actually always feel a bit guilty when I'm working on it because it's actually so much fun to work on. I'm like, hang on, this can't be right. I should be totally stressed out and not enjoying myself. But yeah, really looking forward to getting some more info out to you guys. I just don't want to send out any piecemeal information now. I prefer to wait till we've got everything, solidified as to what we're going to do, and then work that into an article of some sort that we can start to roll out.
Just piggybacking off of that question, just a quick one. With the VeVeVerse, would you be able to confirm, Dan, if it's built using Unity or Unreal Engine? Just because I found that things built with Unreal Engine always look like, really beautiful. It just kind of like they have ridiculous assets. But Unity, again, has like a lot of nice kind of inbuilt assets. So I was just curious.
So we'll be sticking with Unity. That's obviously our entire system at the moment. And, tools like Unreal, the reason they look so good is because they have live ray tracing and those kind of, 3D features which make things look extra shiny. But it's inevitable that other platforms like Unity will be rolling out similar features in the future.
Unity has ray tracing too. I think people have this misconception when they say Unity versus Unreal, that it's what they're basically seeing is the out of the box settings of Unity and Unreal, and basically Unreal out of the box just turns a lot of post processing stuff on, and Unity doesn't. But ultimately, it's the visual fidelity that you get of one engine for another is kind of irrelevant to the final product, because that's just how they choose to release their engines.
Because comic books are, they can be serialized, they have like different volumes or continue off of each other. I know down the line that, there's going to be different upgrades as far as just how they're organized. But would we be able to, once we do start getting these, serialized comic books or in volumes, or like kind of like organize them ourselves and put them into our own type of collection, so that way we can have our own reference of like how we want to group them together?
Yeah, great question. We will absolutely be adding those features in as the comic book side of the platform continues to evolve, in a similar way to what you can do with your digital collectibles right now. How you can have on your collection page, you can choose what hashtags to show. Right now, the reason it's set up the way it is because between now and the end of the year, we're not going to have a huge amount of comics. I mean, there's probably going to be a few rolling out each week. But as those series grow, in the back end of the application, we already have all of the data around series, or whether it's an artist. So you will have the ability to display all of your comics in series. Say, for example, if you have all of the Journey into Mysteries, they can be all grouped by series. And then emoji, as you say, there will be the ability to have custom groups as well. So as the comic book range expands, we get a lot more comics in there, and a much greater need to start to categorize them, is when we'll start to roll those features out.
Nice. Awesome. And the second question that I had was more so along the comic book reading experience. I know, that's around the corner too, but I noticed, because I have like a lot of comics on Comixology and Kindle and stuff, and they have a feature where you can read the comic panel by panel, which kind of gives a really dynamic feel, because it'll zoom in on the action and stuff like that. So is that something that may be coming too with our comic book reading experience?
Absolutely. That will be part of the phase 2 comic rollout, which is basically getting underway now, and that's what we refer to as guided view. So yeah, at the bottom of the reading screen, rather than just being able to tap left or right to change page or zoom in, there'll be a couple of previous and next arrows, which will actually jump you through each of the predefined panels in as part of the reading experience. Like I say, this really is phase 1. Most of the features that you see out there now that have become a bit more ubiquitous to comic reading will absolutely be coming into VV Comics.
Where do you see this going in a couple of years? Do you think we'll get to a point where you zoom in on a panel and it will have sound effects or small animations and kind of become almost like a live book?
I mean, I think the major barrier to that is the huge amount of work involved. I mean, effectively, you're taking, a single comic which might have up to 65 pages, and then each panel you're having to go in and animate or manipulate in some way. And that is a considerable amount of work. It's a production in itself, just for a single comic. And then also, obviously, the comics that get delivered to us is the IP of the license holder. So it would really come down to whether that's something that they want to do as part of the IP product that they deliver. I'm going to say that while there may be some features, maybe with with AR or whatever, where there's some interactivity on pages, but I would say it's unlikely that we'll ever see fully animated panels just due to the immense amount of workload.
Yeah, fair enough. Or maybe we'll release the occasional animated secret rare or something if it ever becomes available. But I'm sure Marvel
That's
have
not a confirmation, as Trevor likes to say.
Yeah.
Not a confirmation.
Yeah. But, no, it's cool. It's cool to think about the potential future of these things. But
curious on your personal preference here. Do you personally value maybe like a lower edition comic more so than a higher edition rare, or is it really just a personal preference thing?
I think it's a personal preference, and it also depends what your outcome is. I mean, we all know that there's a big flipper community within Veve, and if you are a flipper, then your objectives or your preferences are going to be different, to mine. Whereas, I mean, for me, number one, I unfortunately don't have really much time to collect anything on Veve, but I guess for me, in terms of collecting, a lower mint seems cooler to me personally. I mean, if I got a low mint secret rare, then obviously that's that's a double whammy right there.
For sure. So you mentioned earlier, this is what I believe you said, this is actually how it works for real comics. And I'm personally not a flipper. I'm more of a long-term value holder. In the real comic world, which ones has held their value better? Has it been the lower ones, even if it's the less rare cover, or have the covers held their value longer in the long run?
If you have a variant cover, they are by nature significantly more rare. So they can, I mean, I can't say for certain, and it all depends on the comic and all of that stuff as to what their actual value would be. But in the world of physical comics, they aren't actually edition numbers. So I mean, they might print. Who knows, if it's a super popular comic, they might print 50,000 copies in the first run. If that sells out really quickly, they'll do a second print run. So there's no, unlike in the digital space, there's really no edition number per se. And that's why in the comic world, if you do manage to get a variant cover, that is something that's quite rare. But also the other difference in the physical world of comics is that, you might have I mean, there are no mint numbers, but it actually comes down to the grading of the comic, such as using systems like CGC, where you might see, for example, like a 9.4 or a 9.6, or if you're super lucky, a 9.8. And that basically just means the quality or the condition of that comic. So there's a few differences between the world of digital comics and the type that Veve offer, and the physical world, which make those comparisons a bit difficult to compare.
You guys, are we waiting for Immutable transfer till we can start to expect being able to buy and sell the collectibles with Omi? And when that transfer does, if that is the case, how long after that Immutable transfer will something like that be available? Is that something that can roll out pretty quick after the total switch to Immutable, or there'll be some severe testing that goes along with that before it's rolled out?
So most of the Omi utility we are saving for post Immutable, just because it makes total sense in terms of the development timeline. Right now, we aren't developing other features concurrently to the migration, just because that in itself is a big enough project. However, we are starting to line up now all of the developments that is going to take place, such as things like being able to purchase an Omi, doing a lot more things with Omi in the app to give you, to give it more utility. So yeah, you can probably expect over September that we'll start rolling out information about, you know, exactly what utility is coming, general kind of roadmap for it, and yeah, what you can expect.
Perfect. Cool. Last question here. I think you had mentioned about the token swap, that there might be like a token swap website. Is that like a website we'll send it to, or will we actually be able to do that swap through like an exchange like Bit4x? You know, if we keep our OMI in Bit4x, will we then be able to swap it once the you know, Ethereum-based OMI tokens are available?
We decided that, I mean, there is still a possibility that you will be able to swap through the exchanges. However, you know, internally we deemed it a safer way to use the token swap platform that we provide. That way, you know that it's coming from Ecomi, you know that it's legitimate, because you know, unfortunately there are so many scams around. So we wanted to make the call to try to do it as the most safe and secure way for our users. So there will be a token swap as the primary mechanism to make that swap. And if any of you have ever used our WOMI platform, it will function in a very, very similar way, as in you'll connect MetaMask and then you'll be able to swap the tokens through the wallet.
Do you think the comics would have a separate drop schedule from the other collectibles? Or would we like have 1 week of comics and then 1 week of something else? Or could they go, you know, in parallel with each other?
They absolutely will be going in parallel with each other. So from, obviously we're in Marvel month at the moment. When Marvel month comes to a close, obviously we'll still be releasing Marvel products, probably for years to come. But yeah, we absolutely will be running the two products concurrently. Same goes for when we eventually roll out accessories. You know, we might be, each week you might have a drop of comics, accessories, and collectibles. So yes, that will be happening.
Do you see any badges being available within the comic for the master collector? Like if you collect this set, so to speak, it doesn't count as a set, but maybe you get a badge, or you know, you have so many Marvel comics, you'd get a badge. Do you see something like that?
Yeah, there will be. Like I said, there won't necessarily be a set badge, but there could be badges like, you know, when you reach X number of comics, or you have, you know, completed 80% of a series, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's best to consider that the Master Collector program will ultimately envelope everything that is within the VeVeVerse.
Is there a limit to the amount that you can purchase of the same NFT in the marketplace? Is there any rules set by, say, Marvel, to kind of like, if someone was looking to mass purchase floor level NFTs of the same kind, you know, have they set any rules, or has any of the licensors set any rules in that from happening?
No, not at all. The marketplace is essentially free and open. The only condition there, as you guys know, with Marvel coming on board, is the secondary license fee that is part of the transaction. But outside of that, there are no limits. So if you want to go and buy up the floor and then raise the price, I guess that's what you could do.
What reason would I have to stake my tokens? Like, what would be the value in that?
So post Immutable is when we're going to be rolling out a lot more of the token utility, and it'll be, for example, you know, you might stake your tokens to get certain advantages in the master collector level, or to get other certain features within the app that, you know, people would consider desirable. And that will also come in a range of options, such as that you might be able to choose to stake, or you might be able to choose to burn if you want something a bit quicker, or you want to get a little bit more advantage. So right now, yeah, I would 100% obviously recommend continuing to collect the NFTs, and then as we get through Immutable and we can start to roll out the token utility side of things, that's when you'll start to be able to you know, use the OMI token for a lot more things within the app.
Have you guys started working on the VeVeVerse? As like, is there like a file that you're working on, or like a has it been worked on, like where you can you can see it?
We basically just sit here twiddling our thumbs most of the day. No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a big technology ask. So that's been the primary focus over the past, let's say, 4 months. And now that we've got that sort of technology backbone in place, because obviously in order to run a metaverse, it's not like what we do now with just spitting out a few collectibles. It's a far greater technological challenge with the ability to have multiple users, shared spaces. So really the phase that we're moving into now, which is kind of why I'm quite excited, is really the visual aesthetics side of things. So heads up, Trevor, we'll be having a conversation next week about designing the sort of the theme and the look and feel of what the VeVeVerse is going to be.
Oh God.
Is the Master Collector gonna be rolling out before the VeVeVerse or after?
It more than likely will be before. And just to remember, like everything that we roll out, it's all going to be in phases. So, Master Collector phase 1 is going to have X number of features. And then, like I mentioned earlier, one of my preferred ways to roll out these features is to really let it evolve more than try to come up with 10 different things that we think people want. So yeah, I would anticipate phase 1 will come out first because the VeVeVerse itself is a much bigger ask. But again, same deal with the VeVeVerse as well. That's going to be rolled out in a bunch of phases, and then eventually other areas or other locations within the VeVeVerse will open up as they come to fruition. I can hear Trevor groaning in the background already. Like, what are you saying?
Enjoy it, Trevor.
I'm just watching the scope balloon. It's very fun.
Gets bigger every day. It's great.
Would you say that the utilization of the OMI token when we switch over to Immutable would be on par with, like, let's say, Axie Infinity? Would it be that integral to the system or less?
The balance that we need to take, as we've always said with Veve, is that it is a mass market product. So we need to make sure that that the crypto components in there aren't an initial barrier to new users coming in, say from the comic world or from the collecting world, or even just from the general audience. As Reese mentioned before, Veve has started a lot of people collecting who never really used to collect. And because of that, a lot of the token utility will be more around advantages to you as a user or as an OMI token holder. But however, in saying that, there will absolutely eventually be some OMI specific features in the app, or maybe OMI specific drops that are specifically geared towards our holders.
Web platform, I don't know if we've heard any kind of timing in relates to Immutable. Is it before, after, during?
Well, you know what I'm like with time frames.
Well, sure, but
yeah. I hope that it will be out before Immutable. To give you guys an update on the web platform, all of the major features have been built from the store, which obviously has everything in there from drop screen, brands, all of that stuff. The collection has been done. The feed is done, but just needs to go through some visual improvements. Marketplace is fully functional. We've got the wallets in there, your user profile. So all of the major features that you see within the platform now are all in place. And really what we'll be doing now is going through the really just sort of the whole tidy up phase, where we just, as you build things out in development like this, especially a big platform like this, some of the things, need to work a little bit better. So really we're moving into a phase now where we just start to tweak everything so things function a little bit more user friendly, a bit more intuitive. And then the last part of the web rollout is the whole payment platform side. As you guys probably know, right now, all of the payments through the app come through the App Store payments, and however, that when on the web platform, that'll be going through a more standard payment gateway. So, number one, we can all say goodbye to the App Store fees. which will be nice for a lot of users. I know that there are obviously these digital tax laws in a lot of countries right now. So yeah, that's sort of where we're at with the platform and the features that the general rollout plan.
I wouldn't mind just taking a moment to expand on the use of OMI within the app as well. I think it's important for people to realize, like, obviously we're adding utility and use cases to the token, but the point of that is to really create an economy around the token. So creating new ways to burn it for advantages or make purchases obviously increases the velocity of that token. So it incentivizes people to go and find out about it or buy it or use it. And really the idea of aligning that within the app is to make sure those incentives are strong enough or useful enough to people who are enjoying VeVe to go and also use the token. So yeah, a lot of that, the initial implementations will be sort of very specific use cases, but the idea is that they all piece together to create this economy around the token within the app. I'll probably just leave that on that.
NFL, I know Rise has spoke about it before, about probably rolling it out in concert with the season. But how does that look if we know we have an NFLPA license, but there's been no mention of an actual NFL license? So how would that look? Possibly players with no logos or uniforms from the teams?
Yeah, they're very separate licenses when it comes to any kind of sport like that, where you have the overarching, what is it, a federation or organization as such. And then underneath that, there's a whole layer of things. Like you've got the teams, and then even on the teams, you've got all the logos on the teams, and then you've got the individual players. So right now, yeah, we don't have a license with the NFLPA. I hope that we'll be able to bring some news on that sports side coming up next month.
You said we don't have the NFLPA, or we don't have NFL?
Yeah, don't have NFL.
All right, understood. And that's what I figured it would look like. Is there any plan in the future to work on an actual unboxing event, kind of like NBA Top Shot does, just to make it a little more exciting and interesting?
Yeah, yep. I mean, there is possibility for that. That is really just comes down to more of an aesthetic thing on the front end, rather than any kind of sort of feature development. Blind box is a new feature that we've rolled out. Obviously, phase 1, just to add a little bit more diversity into the different ways that you can collect on Veve. And like most of the other features, I anticipate that blind box will just continue to evolve as well.
So we've got the comic books, and the same kind of comic book content is also available on the Marvel Unlimited app. So you pay $9.99 to get access to every single comic. So Cavell was asking, from a marketing point of view, how do you market people to kind of, rather than, or people who are kind of on this $9.99 subscription a month, how do you entice them with the whole kind of ecosystem with Veve to get involved with these comic books? Because I guess it's kind of like a lot of crypto people would care about the whole blockchain and kind of verifying authenticity, ownership, transaction history, etc. What kind of marketing approach would you take in order to kind of get these people to kind of adopt Veve in a sense?
I mean, I think there's always going to be a place for platforms like, say, Marvel Unlimited or Comixology, where you've got readers who are prolific readers. One of the advantages with like Marvel Unlimited, I mean, they've got thousands of comics on there, and you can go in and read any one at any time. But for you to own that in the same way, to own those collectibles in the physical world or in, say, the NFT world, is a little bit of a different offering. But I really see that one of the awesome things about digital NFT comics is that they really are a complete merging or blending of what you could get from Marvel Unlimited, where the comic is fully digital, and then you've also got all the advantages that you'd have with a comic in the physical world, in the sense that you own it. you could potentially sell that, or you could put it in a safe case and get it graded, and then wait for a few years and get it until the value goes up. So I think it really hits, these digital NFT comics really hit. Sorry, excuse me, guys. Really hit right in the middle of what people can experience in the digital world and what they can experience in the physical world. And then on top of that, there's some other extra advantages, like you can read in AR. There's the pages never get destroyed or damaged. So I think people who read comics now will naturally start to buy these comics in addition to what they probably have physical collections. They have their Marvel Unlimited, their Comixology, and now they can have this new form of comic which has, in my opinion, the best of both worlds.
Or when we can list certain items on OpenSea, maybe like a Jermaine Rogers rabbit, are we going to be able to, if someone were to buy that from us on OpenSea, I know it won't look the same way it does in the Veve app. Will they be able to take it from there and then put it back into the Veve app so that they can get the 3D view and all that?
Yep, 100%. That's exactly how the intention for the collectibles, when they do eventually go out on the open market, is to work. That effectively, you can buy the ownership of that collectible with some associated metadata. But if you want the full Veve experience, then you'll be able to transfer that ownership of the collectible back into Veve and get access to the models and the showrooms and all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. That's humongous. Okay, and then another thing with OpenSea, will the original artists who've been paid, like Jermaine Rogers or Ron English, will they be able to get a percentage if something is sold on Veve in the smart contracts? Will they get a throwback when changes are made?
Well, that's one of the primary reasons we went with Immutable, because they are geared to have, they've got like the royalty kind of structure built in to the back end. So assuming it's staying on layer 2, and obviously Immutable is getting integrated into, a wide number of exchanges, marketplaces at the moment. And really, that is, as I mentioned in the last AMA, is how I see the licensing and artist landscape shaping out as we move forward. A lot of artists these days are at a slight disadvantage because they might sell their piece originally for, let's say, $100, and then they all of a sudden become famous, and then that same art piece that they created gets sold for $10,000, but they never are able to obviously have a piece of that. And as most people on the call probably know, that is one of the differentiating factors between having these digital assets. So that's absolutely how I see it playing out.
As an artist and an independent artist, I was wondering, after the Immutable transfer, would you guys be open to having independent artists submit content ideas to you or decks?
Right now, Veve's focus really is more on premium content. So obviously, as you guys know, the bigger brands, and then we have obviously brought on a range of established artists. And for the time being, that's really the category that we want to stay in. There are a lot of platforms out there that allow artists to mint their own NFTs and then and have them interoperable and then sell on other platforms. So that's sort of our position on that at the moment. However, we will be bringing in another feature in the future called Artist Alley, which is where we'll be looking at potentially allowing artists to do sort of more one-of-ones. But again, that is still going to remain sort of more in the premium category of artists.
My question is regarding the MTL cash out option, because I have NBA Top Shot friends who have big accounts. They're very hesitant to put big money in because they can't get big money out, and they want to have quick access, in and out, so they can move from project to project. Is there any updates you can possibly give us about that?
Yeah, as I mentioned on the last AMA, the cash out process is coming along very well. We're in the regulatory compliance phase at the moment, which, as you can appreciate, again, similar to the immutable migration, this is a big feature, not necessarily technically, but it's something that needs to be very, very secure, across AML, KYC, regulatory laws. So what I can tell you is that in terms of the development side, it's 90% completed in terms of the ability to go through your KYC, set up your cash out. And as soon as we get through this final stage of compliance and testing, then I'm looking forward to rolling that out to all of the people who said it was never coming.
So this might happen potentially before the immutable integration, or possibly a little after.
I hope so. Before. I mean, it's reasonable to think that it will come before. But as I say, we are going through steps with a lot of external parties, so there are a few things that are out of our hands timeline-wise.
Easy. Will we be able to put our collectibles, like put 2 of them in augmented reality, rather than doing like our the showroom hack where we have to put it behind the vault door? Do you have any update on potentially being able to put multiple collectibles in AR?
Yes, so we have a new type of showroom coming out called the empty space, which essentially is the showroom but without any walls. So you can place all of your collectibles, or as many collectibles as you want, in one empty area, and then when you project that into AR, you'll see all of your collectibles there together.
The mint numbers, you were saying that you have a purpose for it on the comic books. I don't understand very well, but I was going to ask you guys if, for example, I got the secret rare. I got very lucky. I couldn't believe it. I almost had a heart attack. And with the Marvel first comic, and it shows a 3,000 and something. It's still a low mint, but I think it looks better if it's a mint out of a 600 than 60,000. I don't know if you could put on the description under the comic book that description, when you put all the details under the comic book.
Yeah, I guess right now we aren't displaying that this secret rare cover is a 1 in 600. I think we're just showing the total edition. So yeah, I like that. Let me make a note.
Yeah, thank you. It's gonna help out, I think, for people that wanna sell it on the second market and all that. It looks a lot more attractive. It's gonna help for your royalties. I think it's gonna help. Because, for example, if someone comes new to the app and it sees a 3,000 mint, he's going to be like, oh, what is that? But if it shows on the details, maybe you leave the 3,000 on the mint, but when you read the details down, you could say, okay, this is the number out of 600. I don't know. Just to give it an extra description.
Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We maybe just above the total edition count, we can say that this is a secret rare cover, one of 600 or whatever it is.
Perfect. Thank you.
Earlier you mentioned possibly burning or staking Omi token. I wondered if you'd also have any plans to do that with the NFT themselves, either staking or burning them for benefits.
Yes, we. Well, firstly, yes. Thanks for your comment on the Veve. Really, that you ultimately are how we think a lot of our users will transition into the crypto space, and getting to know tokens like Omi better and getting to understand what NFTs is. So I'm glad that you were able to be introduced to that world through Veve. Now, in terms of staking NFTs, it is something that I have considered for sure. We just need to work out, really what kind of advantages you could get out of it, and what the outcome of that staking would be. Whether it's the collectible turns into something else or you get something extra. There needs to be a little bit of thought, a little bit more thought from my side around the utility that would offer. However, the burning side of NFTs is absolutely something that that has been discussed internally. In fact, I think we even thought about calling it something like the digital black hole, where you could basically just go and like someone out there owns a huge percentage of the let's say a common comic book cover. They could literally just go and burn them all to try to reduce the supply of that common cover, and then potentially ultimately raise the desire for that particular comic. So it's something that I've considered, not on an immediate roadmap, but we'll see how it goes with the evolution of that side of the business.
Is there any intentions on maybe like taking season 1 and making some of the collectibles automated?
I mean, anything's a possibility, but I think right now some of the attraction of the season 1 collectibles is the fact that they are what they are. I mean, it's like we're starting to move into our generation 2 collectibles now. Obviously with Trevor on board, you guys have seen a lot of the Spider-Man and these sort of newer assets that are coming out with a lot more interaction and animation. So while it's a possibility that we could do, I think there's something cool about season 1 always being that that retro season, the very first one that came in. Some of the models aren't the best as they could be, but in some way that's kind of part of the charm. So anything's a possibility, but no real sort of plans to do that at the moment.
Like, was Marvel something that you were waiting for a certain amount of users, or is that some kind of format you guys follow for like bigger drops in the future?
Sorry, were you referring to the edition numbers there?
No, just the idea of like how many users you have to maybe support how big Marvel is. So you guys had to were you guys waiting for a certain amount of users to drop Marvel, or was it just a licensing thing?
No, it was. I mean, the Marvel deal was actually in the works. I would say probably a year before the app even went live. So at that point, we didn't even have any users. So it was always something that was going to come on the platform anyway. It just turned out that we were fortunate enough to launch right in the midst of a lot of sort of hype around NFTs. And also, that the platform itself is quite sort of fun to use. So no real sort of user limits or user targets for bringing on any of these licensors.
Cool. So that just kind of lures to my next idea. When we hit 1 million users, is that when we will get Star Wars?
That's a nice way to frame the old when question. Unfortunately, I have no comment on future licensors.
Yes, I was just trying to find a way around the win.
If you die, what happens to your collectibles or your account? I mean, do we have some sort of... Are we going to pass those on or something like that? Or is it up to the individual to have that allocated in their will, that kind of thing?
I mean, anyone's welcome to bequeath their collection to myself if they want to. But, like any asset that anyone owns, if you own a car and you unfortunately pass on, that car doesn't automatically get allocated or assigned to someone. It would be, it would have to be part of your will, your estate, with some sort of form of instruction. I guess the same way as that if any of you own crypto, what would happen to that? You would have to have your, access, your keys, etc., as part of that.
Yeah, perfect. I think that should cover it for people. A lot of that liability or responsibility is on the individual.
Is it ever going to be a possibility for the collectibles to interact with a location?
I mean, I guess the issue with that is there in the world, in our global audience, there will only be very few people who would be able to access those locations. So it would be a lot of effort for only a small percentage of the potential, collectible holders. So yeah, I'm not. It's not on the roadmap. I'm not. Again, I'd have to look at the feasibility of something like that.
I just have a quick question for you, Reese. How many collectibles do you own?
That's a good question. Maybe like 60 or 70, something like that. I have a lot of the early collectibles that are probably some of my favorites still, and then really I only go for drops if it's something that I really want. I know that it's pretty unlikely that I'll get a low mint or a secret rare or things like that, so I've kind of resigned myself to collecting the things that I like or enjoy. And at the moment, a lot more of that is probably the artist releases. For me, I mean, these are people that I never knew anything about before I sort of, started researching to write these articles or whatever. But, having the opportunity to talk to some of them, like Kozik and Jermaine and things like that, I really like connecting their art to their story. It's just a bit more meaningful to me than a sort of pop culture character or a hero or something. So that's how I approach the app.
About the comic books, I know you guys said that it's in development for the new marketplace. In regards to like sorting and all that good stuff, would we be able to see them being added to our collectible list, like our amount of collectibles in the near future?
Yes, you are correct. That was raised. So the first point, the market collectibles, the market sorting, aiming to have that rolled out by midweek, depending on the app gods approval. And what was the other question? Oh yes, yeah, showing the count in your profile. So yes, comic books and digital collectibles will contribute towards your total collectible count. We just need to get the comic books added in there.
But if you guys ever do decide to have like land in the VeVeVerse, do you guys see any utility being used in that land? Like Alluvium just had an AMA not too long ago. I caught it on Poor Man Printing's, and they mentioned that they would have land where you can maybe mine resources. So I'm not sure if you guys thought about, hey, we can have land and someone can mine, whether it be a perk to the Master Collector program, like a millisecond off for mining the land, or maybe they're able to mine Omi or stake their land for some type of purpose. Do you guys see that being something possible in the future for utility in land?
So yes, I did. I mentioned just a little bit earlier, maybe before you came on board, that land will definitely be part of the VeVeVerse. In terms of mining it, probably not, but the land will have various utility of sorts beyond just you owning it.
The mining idea is really cool. I haven't followed a lot of the Alluvium project, but I know that one of the founders or the founder is Robbie from Immutable's brother. So they're obviously very connected there, and it's exciting to be moving to a protocol and a chain that has that kind of community around it as well. I think there'll be a lot of good ideas floating around.
So yeah, I come from the Pokemon community, so I've been collecting Pokemon cards since 2011. So in the Pokemon hobby, not only is condition everything, and can decide how much a card is worth, but also the sealed collection market is pretty big, if not bigger. So I was wondering, with these blind boxes, would it be possible to like have the option to keep them sealed? Because I wouldn't know how that would work on the blockchain.
Yeah, a few other people have brought that up earlier. And to be honest, it's something I really need to consider a bit more deeply, whether we do decide to have sealed items. Obviously, there's no degradation of any digital item, so it would purely just be an unsealed, an unopened blind box. But I have seen a few requests out there, or people mentioning that. So something we can add to the feature backlog.
Okay, nice. And then another question I do have, because like I said, condition is everything in this hobby. And I actually only really like collecting physical stuff. So this whole VV thing. So obviously you can't grade any of these NFT collectibles because you can't damage them in any way. So I can now see how the low mint numbers can become more valuable in the future. And I want to start collecting these very low mint numbers of the Marvel comics you guys released on Friday. However, it kind of scares me if I do want to buy or pay these high premiums people are asking, because for us, the public, our only very early NFTs is like 501, right? So that's kind of what scares me, because there's like 500 more comics before that. And so my question would be, when do you think we will see like these sub 500 Marvel comics and stuff like that?
You mean people listing them on the market, or?
Yeah, like on the secondary market.
Well, I mean, I
do
guess
want to
that
own.
comes down to the to the individual owner. I think for these first few comic drops, especially, I mean, Marvel's first NFT comic book ever. If you've got a sub 500 and maybe it's a secret rare or even a sub 500 common, to be honest, maybe people are just holding them because they could be more valuable over time. So a bit difficult really to say when they'll come on the market. I think you really just need to watch. And one thing that I will say is that, for me personally, I never buy on the market the day after the drop, because it's always super inflated. Everyone's in the rush. So, maybe just keep monitoring on it. Watch platforms like the Rebel Duck, who always does great overviews of the floor price to see how things are moving. And that might be your better bet.
Oh man, Dan, I just spent 1,300 on the Thor comic.
Well, no, don't worry. Like I say, these first few are, I think it's they're the type of ones that you want to hold.
Yeah, I mean, these are the first ever digital Marvel comic NFTs. It's based on the first ever comics. They're pretty exciting as a product. Just on that, in case some of that was missed, with the normal collectible release, obviously we hold on to the first 40, and we take a randomized sort of 50 from the remainder. Are we doing the same thing with comic books yet?
Yeah, we are. The first 40 obviously will always remain with the company, just because. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you guys, we never anticipated those first 40 would become so valuable. And in the future, as we roll out new ones, that number might change or might lower. But again, a lot of those are sort of allocated off to licensors and artists and that kind of thing as well. Now, the comics, I would actually need to check whether they are randomized, and if they're not, that they should be. We obviously don't want to be scooping up too many of those lower ones. So we can move ahead on the assumption that for comics in the future, they will be, the first 40 will be held back. But any further that are held back by the company for use of promotion or giveaways, they should be randomized.
Yeah, perfect. I think that might have been what Irving was kind of getting at there with the sub 500s. We're wondering if we were getting the lower ones.
This was a very good community question. I just completely forgot about it, but it's on the point of the comic editions that you guys keep back. I know you keep back number 1 for the VeVeVerse, but because for comics we have this kind of unique system where all of the covers are in one pool, so you only get one type of edition number 1 out of everything. Would you guys be able to tell us, probably whenever you can, what type the edition number 1 is that you're keeping back? Because we know that it can only be a secret rare or even a common, but you can only get one of that edition number 1 regardless of the cover type.
Yes, that is a great question, actually, Kay. I'll have to go and have a look at what the comic allocations are, because you are right. There is only a number 1 of a certain type of comic cover. So yeah, I'd have to look into that one.
Cool. I mean, yeah, it would be quite interesting because if that's the case, just the idea of VeVeVerse seems to me like you guys have like at least one of everything. So in the VeVeVerse, would you only ever have just one cover out of that whole series, or would you aim to have one of each cover, but then it kind of like clashes with the whole kind of like mint number 1 kind of aspect you're going for?
Well, I mean, the company will always have one of everything because it's the company, and it should always have one of everything. And in the VeVeVerse, they will all be set up in Veve's giant vault where people will be able to explore through all the Batman, all the Marvel, and in there will be every single variation of the comic covers as well. But as you rightly point out, Kay, some of those it's literally not possible for us to have a number one of everything when it comes to the cover variants. But will they be on display? Absolutely.
Cool, perfect.
So that's the video, my friends. If you made it this far, congratulations, you are that much wiser regarding your Omi and Veve investment. And if you liked and or learned something, feel free to drop a like on the video for your Bromi to help me out in the YouTube algorithms. So what more can be said that wasn't already said? Omi is going to the moon. Veve is going to Asgard. Yeah, the sky's the limit. No, the sky is just the beginning for Veve, so we are lucky and blessed to be here. And with that being said, I'm not a financial advisor, and nobody in that video was either. So take everything that you heard with a grain of salt. These are just opinions, and yeah. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Until then, peace out and hodl strong. Later.